This is the first video in a series in which we'll talk about BOSH. BOSH is a tool that's meant for managing and monitoring complex systems. And before we jump into BOSH, we should really talk about the demands on the technology industry currently to see where BOSH fits in. So let's dive right in.
Most organizations start out with just a few services. Now, these services could be provided by the organization, or they could be from other vendors. Right? And so maybe we get a messaging queue service for our developers, maybe we get a SQL service for our developers, and we get a NoSQL service used for our developers, right? So we provide all of these to our developers, and they've all been tested by our security in our organization and deployed by us. But then all of a sudden, our developers are happy, and then all of a sudden they come to us and they say, well, listen, we love the SQL service that you gave us, but we also want Oracle SQL, and we also want MS SQL, right? And we say, well, that's great and all, but we got to go deploy those, right? So then we go and we deploy out our SQL Server 2, whatever it is, and our SQL Server 3, and maybe we do the same thing across our NoSQLs. There's other types that are out there, and the same thing across our messaging queue service, right? And so now we've got all of our services that our developers wanted. And then our developers are looking to move into production. And they say, listen, we need more instances of our service. So of course they come back to us and we say, okay, we'll get it done. So we take our services and we scale them. Right? So we take them, we scale them up. And so now we've got 2 instances of every service that we had before. So let's take a look at what we've accomplished. Well, we first started off with just 3 services. And each service maps out to VM. So we had 3 VMs. Not too bad. We provisioned out 3 VMs. Then our developer said, hey, we need more choice. Right? We need more choice. So we gave them 6 more types of services. And that mapped out to 9 more VMs. So now we've given our developers choice. But now we've moved into production. Right? And so we kept the same amount of services. But now we needed to up the scale. Right? So we went up to 18 VMs. And so if you look at this, right, this is sort of provisioning, right? And this was in its own right difficult, right? Because we've had to go and provision 18 different VMs with different services on them, learn how to provision those, and it's been difficult, right? And how about in the future when we have hardware failures or whatnot? How are we going to monitor these, right? And reboot them and add new hardware and make sure that the services don't have outages, right? That's difficult. And then how about updating, right? So what if updating and security, right? So what about if these guys end up having a security vulnerability? How do we get rid of that vulnerability? What if we want to update the version of a service, right? It's difficult, right? And so that's where BOSH steps in. In future videos, we're going to talk about how BOSH can help us with all 3 of these steps and more. So stay tuned.